Marissa Koons is the author of the Cool Kids series beginning with the birthday party. She enjoys writing children's books geared towards self-esteem and believes the only opinion of you that matter is to your own. An accountant by day, book lover by night, she received a Bachelor of Science degree from Cedar Crest College. Growing up, she dreamed of writing a children's book, and this interest led her to take classes at the Institute of Children's Literature. While life went in a different direction, the path led to the same place, and eventually, in a global pandemic, her dream became a reality. Her journey began in 2020 with self-publishing, and in 2024, she became a published author with Austin Macauley Publishers LLC. Our inspiration comes from our children, friends, and personal growth experiences. When not writing, you can find our painting with our kids or swimming laps. Marisa lives with her husband and three daughters in Pennsylvania. And in today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy and excitement to have on the show today, Marissa Koons. How are you doing today, Marissa? It's lovely to have you on.
I'm great. How are you? I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure, really. I've been looking forward to this after getting engrossed with your amazing rating, the birthday party, which I find to be quite interesting. It's lovely that we are here to sit down and have a conversation around it. So I want to say thank you once again for joining in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah. So, Maurice, I need to say that, reading through your book to me was quite an exciting one, a very lovely journey, I'd say. The birthday party, it's such a gentle story about self-worth, about resilience. Now, I wanted to ask you, what inspired it? Why did you decide to tell the story in this manner? And also, the cool kids group in the book represent a challenge many children face wanting to fit in into a particular system or whatsoever they're trying to fit it into. Was this drawn from personal experience or from observing children today? If in any way, I'm just curious.
Oh, definitely personal experience. So back in sixth grade, I had this little group of girlfriends, and for years we were on the same basketball team. We had sleepovers, we went trick-or-treating,
Mm,
probably about the same age that I write for, grades 3 through 6. And it felt like we were just inseparable. And then one day the ringleader just decided I was out. No
mm,
warning, no explanation. Suddenly my friends were gone. I still don't know what triggered it. And if anything, that experience really stuck with me. And that's what's inspired the cool kids.
wow.
I also have three girls. They're all spaced out pretty far apart in age. So I get to do grade school 3 times. And let me tell you, there's no shortage of mean, catty girls. Like I've seen it from all angles. My middle daughter's actually homeschooled now because of a bullying incident. The school administration, they just didn't know how to handle it. So, yeah, most of my inspiration comes from real life and current events. It's all really close
Mm,
to home.
oh, wow. That's an amazing answer to that, actually. It's beautiful to get to know how all of this come to be and to get to know about the foundation towards the making of it. Thank you very much for sharing. And Natalie's mother in the book plays a pivotal role in the story. Taking Natalie somewhere special and helping remind her of her light. Now, I wanted to ask you, how did you develop the mother-daughter relationship in the book? And also, you choose a fairly short format for this story. What are the challenges or, say, benefit of writing a compact, illustrated story for this age group? Let's start with the mother-daughter relationship, first of all.
So, the relationship in the Cool Kids really mirrors my experience as a parent. I'm not the
Mm,
mom who's home baking cookies when the kids come home from school, but I do make it a point to listen, like really listen when they talk.
mm,
That's something I wanted to reflect in the story. The idea that sometimes what children need most isn't a grand
yeah,
gesture, but someone who hears them.
attention. Yeah.
And to address the question of the short, the pace of the story and everything, I just believe stories for this age group should wrap up quickly. Once the
Mm,
conflict's resolved, kids tend to lose interest. They're ready to move on. So I try to keep the pacing tight, the ending, satisfying, that they won't linger too long. I think we all have something special inside, whether it's a talent
Absolutely.
for sports or music or
Yeah.
writing,
Yeah.
whatever makes us feel alive, that's our light. And once you just find out and discover what it is, you should really lean into it.
Oh, wow. I love your take on that. That is so true and that's so interesting to know. Thank you very much for sharing. And the idea of a brilliant light within, the idea of a brilliant light within is such a beautiful metaphor to me. And if you ask me, even maybe because I'm a poet, but if you ask me, it sounds quite poetic in nature. Now, how did you come up with that image and what does it mean to you personally, if it does in any way?
Well, personally, I gravitate towards self-help and motivational books. Like that's what you'll find me
Mm,
reading. So they speak a lot to me. Authors like Rachel Hollis and Gabby Bernstein. Gabby Bernstein's my favorite. And I'm
mm,
not sure if Rachel Hollis, mentions the inner light, but she had this Amazon like documentary called Made for More many years ago, and I just loved it so much. So for me, it's about the internal battles, the good versus evil, the negative thoughts versus the positive thoughts.
mm,
When we choose to let the good ones win, something shifts. Like our inner light just shines brighter and it just radiates more into the world.
mm. Wow, I love your answer to that. That's such a beautiful and awesome one. Thank you. And I know you have the book behind you. If you can bring it a bit closer and raise
I
it to the
actually have one right
camera.
here.
Oh, look at that. And that's a beautiful cover design. Would you like to talk about the making of the cover? Because I think there's a connection between cover art and the story in a book. Would you like to talk about the making of the cover? There's a balloon in there, prepare the
Yeah,
party
this
underneath.
this is what my daughter Natalie looks like. And this is Natalie. She's
Oh,
the main character of the book. So yeah, this is the
ah,
inspiration.
interesting, really. Thank you. And I wanted to ask you because I'm curious. My curiosity wouldn't allow me to keep quiet, actually. But then, what kind of conversation do you hope this story spark between parent and children, if in any way?
More than anything, I think kids want to be heard. So they need someone who will
Mm,
truly listen. So imagine sitting next to a bully all day in class. It's exhausting, it's isolating.
mm,
That's why it's so important to encourage children to speak up and ask for help.
yeah.
And they often don't do
Mm,
that because, they're scared.
that's
Sometimes they
good.
don't get the help they expect. It doesn't feel
Mm,
safe. That
yeah.
fear keeps them quiet. So we need to create spaces where kids can feel supported and brave and empowered by making the choice of asking for help.
Absolutely. Oh wow, that's so true. That's so true. Sometimes they be, and again, to be fair, if you look at kids that get bullied at school, I do pity them so much because there's a lot of internalized fear that goes into their heart. Oh, if I mention this, he's gonna bully me the more, I'm gonna be scared. And the bully, I don't know. It's funny how somebody else kid who might be a good child at home would be a bully in school. It's not fair to be fine. And they create this fear over the bullier. Like, oh yeah, if you see him approaching, you're scared. Your heart is beating fast. And sometimes you may even lose interest in going to school because we're like, oh, I'm
Hmm.
going over there again. I'm gonna meet that boy. I'm gonna meet that.
Right.
It's really interesting. I like the further conversation you trying to create a way whereby kids can become open, can be expressive, and like the parent know this is what is going on. There's somebody who is doing this, and it's a very interesting thing. To be fair,
Hmm.
thank
And
you for
it's
mentioning.
embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have to tell your
Mm,
parent that somebody is picking on you. You don't
yeah,
want to disappoint them.
yeah, absolutely. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you for all these lovely tips you've raised up in this in this book, really. And also I wanted to ask you, how did you find the balance between simplicity and emotional depth? As writing for children often requires a gentle, meaningful tone in some ways, if you ask me.
Well, I feel like when I write for children, I try to remember how big their feelings are, even if their worlds seem really small to
Mm,
adults. I
mm,
think about how I talk to my own children, how I listen, how I try to help them with their problems or validate their feelings.
yeah.
Like, so the tone naturally just finds its way into my writing.
Oh, that's a great one. That sounds like an very simple, effortless way into getting into writing, merging the tone together in a way that flows swiftly and quite beautifully. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning. And children's book often carries subtle lessons for adults as well. No matter how interesting or how small, short, big, huge, large it always carries subtle lessons for adults as well. Sometimes I read some children's book and it reminds me of my many, many years ago, and I'm like, oh, I wish I read this book when I was much younger. And there's always a connection between children. You're reading a children's book. I know I'm not a children, I'm not a child, but then it still carry a huge lesson for me. Now, was there something you learned or were reminded of while writing the birthday party, if in any way?
I think one of the most important lessons is that the only opinion of you that matters is your own. So Mel Robbins talks about that a lot, and it's something to try and reinforce with my own kids. Like it's hard for them to remember, especially in moments when they feel left out or judged.
Mm,
But learning to value yourself, even when others don't show up for you, like
yeah,
that's powerful.
yeah.
The birthday party actually happened to one of my daughters. She was invited to a
Hmm.
birthday party at a specific time, and then when she arrived, the party was almost over. So
Oh,
the feeling of walking into a celebration that clearly started without you, it was heartbreaking.
yeah,
The
it is.
rejection, the embarrassment, like it's a lot for a
Yeah,
child and even an adult to handle if that would happen.
absolutely. That's really, really, really concerning. I like your take on that. Thank you for that lovely answer. Very, very true. And the setting of the surprise party gone wrong is very relatable. The one you just mentioned is very
Mhm.
relatable. You're getting into something and you realize it's like, oh, you never told me about that, you know, especially when our eyes not turn and say, oh, you just coming, etc.
Mhm.
The setting of the surprise party gone wrong is very relatable. Was this also based on the personal experience or something you observed in school life?
Well, when that happened to my daughter and she was invited to that party late, but it's not just about that. It's about like someone like I know I've worked in offices before.
Yeah,
And it could be something as simple as like someone not including you, on somebody else's birthday cake. It's hurtful. You feel left out.
yeah,
You start to come up with all these things in your mind and that aren't true because, it's not about you. It was somebody's birthday. It
mm,
wasn't meant to be malicious, but like our own negative thoughts will lead us down those dark paths. And
mm,
so even as an adult, it hurts. So just imagine how a child feels. They're still, developing their feelings and trying to figure out what
mm,
they all are. So it
mm.
can be pretty hurtful.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you for shedding light on that. This is really interesting. I love all these themes and subject lines you've raised in this book. It is really an interesting one that I love wholeheartedly. And one of the key message in the book is just because someone else's light has gone out doesn't mean yours has. And I must say that I love that phrase wholeheartedly from the depth of my heart. And I'm going to say it again. Just because someone else's light has gone out doesn't mean yours has. Now, how did you come to that line and how important is that message for young readers?
Children often measure their worth by how others treat them,
Mm,
especially in social
very
settings
true.
like school or parties. So when someone excludes them or dims their joy, it can feel like their own light isn't shining anymore. So
Mm,
letting your light shine is simple enough for a child to comprehend. It's not just about feeling better in the moment. It's about building tools that they can carry with them for the next time they feel
mm.
that way.
I love the fact that you raised that and mentioned that. It reminds me of, I think this is very important and conversation to have. It will not even be in a class setting. It could be in chat setting. I remember sometimes, I'm so sorry to say this on in an interview. I remember sometimes in where we're in church, children's church, and they were assigning certain position to certain kids. They were like, oh, give this person. The obviously the leader or whatever it's being called was selecting certain kids. I said, okay, it will be the one to be in charge of this one. Let's give him this one to do. And they were selecting the famous kid, like the child of the pastors and etc. Then one of them said, could you give to Peter as well? And one of the women, I still remember today, I was very young, but I still remember this scenario, even to today.
It
And I
stuck
remember
with
one of
you.
them said, one of them said, oh no, don't give it to him. So it really makes me feel so bad and awkward. I was
Mhm.
so young. I didn't even tell anybody, but I remember that scenario. And, over that, sometimes it makes me look at, David and, the other vice as, you know, the huge or the most reasonable or the most loved, the most accepted, and makes you feel yourself like you're a bit, not worthwhile, not, get to their stage. So it's a very interesting concept that you raise this, being secluded of, oh no, it's not good, it's not good enough, something of that nature. And, children, I think while young, there's so many things that goes on in children's head that sometimes they don't even get to voice out these things, but they remember every single thing you do to them, every single
Yep.
word, every
It
single
all starts in
action,
childhood.
how you make them feel uncomfortable, everything they remember.
Yep.
They remember. So I
Yep.
love the fact that you mentioned that. It's not only in school, it happens very well in school, but it could be
Yep.
elsewhere as well.
Yeah. Anywhere at any time, even as an adult.
Even as an adult, it happens. Even as an adult, it happens. I love the fact that you mentioned that. It is really, really important. And I think, again, parents should always tell their kids, and this is where communication comes in. If something else go wrong, or if they feel somehow in any way, let them communicate to their mothers. And in that scenario, the mother will tell her, don't let anybody make you feel unworthy. You are amazing. You are great. Let your light shine. That gives them
Right.
back a more reaffirmation. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much for sharing this. And I wanted to ask you too, because friendship, self-esteem, resilience, all of these flow through the story. How do you balance writing for children while embedding such meaningful themes?
Well, it's definitely a delicate balance. Kids are
Mm,
incredibly perceptive, but they also need stories that feel fun and relatable. So I try to
mm,
embed these deeper themes into everyday moments, like Abby's small victory winning the contest, or the quiet courage it takes to ask a teacher for help. These moments, they carry weight without feeling too heavy.
yeah.
My goal is to always just encourage kids to speak up and seek support because, in a way that feels empowering, it's never preachy. If a child finishes the book feeling seen or just a little more confident in who they are, then my job has been done.
I love that. I really like the themes you expound in this book. It's so reminiscent. It is so true. It is so necessary, and it is so helpful. Very, very helpful. And thank you for producing an amazing artwork like this.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we need it. Children need it. Parents need it. Everyone needs it, especially in our today's generation. We all need it. Thank you very much for this amazing book.
Thank you for saying that. That was very kind of you.
Yeah, yeah. And I also wanted to ask you, how did you approach the illustration and overall visual feel of the book? I love the design in it, quite amazing and quite beautiful. And how do you think children's literature can help build emotional resilience in this generation?
Well, my first two books, The Birthday Party and Trick or Treat, were both
Yeah.
published by Austin Macauley last year. And I was fortunate enough to have the same illustrator for both. My third book, The Christmas Pageant, set to debut December 5th, has a different illustrator. It's been a real
Mm,
challenge. Visually, it's been hard to maintain the tone from the first two. I had to make some tough calls creatively. I
mm.
care deeply about the characters and the kids who connect with them, but illustration isn't decoration, it's storytelling.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where I'm going after this, but it's exciting that the Christmas pageant's coming out.
Mm,
I hope that children's literature or the cool kids specifically can build emotional resilience by modeling Natalie's coping strategies,
mm.
creating a safe space for big feelings, encouraging positive mindsets, even setting new norms for asking for help.
Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing. Very interesting. And every author has a core message that runs through their work. If you could summarize yours in one sentence, what would it be?
Let your light shine so others can see in the darkness.
I love that.
Your happiness really does benefit everyone you encounter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that statement. Please say it again.
Let your light shine bright so others can see in the darkness.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for this amazing affirmation, beautiful motivational word and sentence and speech that you've said. I feel inspired even myself as a host. It is really, really inspiring. All these words are very true and we really need it, like I mentioned initially. Thank you. Thank you very much. And finally, what advice would you give an aspiring children's author who want to write stories that make a difference but still feels light and joyful? What advice would you give an author, a writer in this category?
I'd say learn your audience. So, writing for children doesn't mean you have to spell everything out. Sometimes
Mm.
a gentle metaphor or just an honest moment, holds more weight than over explaining.
Oh.
I draw a lot from real life. I keep a little notebook where I jot down like little moments, phrases, or people that left an impression.
Mm.
For example, Beth, the ringleader of the cool kids, she's actually named after a property manager I encountered on
Oh.
vacation once. She like
Wow.
ran her little motel like a Gestapo and wouldn't let us use the second parking pass. So she just
Oh.
became the
Oh.
villain in the book.
Wow.
Um, and even throwaway comments like they can become story gold. So in my next book, The Christmas Pageant, there's a line from a cleaning person who once said to me, I could have done it in less time. That's why I asked. So
Mm.
that is in the book. So it's like the world is just full of characters if you're paying
Interesting.
attention.
Absolutely. I love that. That is really inspiring and quite interesting. And just in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview and would love to get a copy of any of your books, on what platforms are they available on for purchase?
Amazon, Target, and Barnes and Nobles, as well as my own website, marissakoons.com.
Hmm. That's amazing. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Marissa's The Birthday Party and her other books directly on Amazon and Barnes& and Nobles on our website and also on other platforms. I also left a link to Marissa's social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so
Thank you.
much, Marissa, for joining me today to talk about your book. Having read it and find it to be quite fantastic and awesome, and it is beautiful that we can sit down and have a conversation around it. So I want to say thank you very much once again for joining
Thank
in.
you. Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure as well.